Hey people, welcome back to the Becoming TV series, where we explore the deep truths and the principles that will enable you to become everything you are created to be, to do, and to have. This is William Awana. So I hope you had a pretty good time discussing with me, or at least listening to me, talk about the power of the belief system, the power of ideas, and the power of the attitude, right? Because these things have such a profound effect on our lives individually, and how we're able to relate with life and be more productive, establish better relationships, and just improve the quality of life in general. Now, I want to switch tactics for a bit and talk about what is happening globally, right? Not in a political sense or economic sense, but really just to have a brief discussion around the importance of things that are happening, right, and how it affects us. And I've titled this one "The Winds of Change," which is essentially a very popular phrase that has been uttered over time. The winds of change, essentially meaning that there are things that are causing change to happen in various areas. And the winds also suggest that it's not something that is typical to a particular place, but that it is prevalent in more than one geographical area. So when we say the winds of change, we're talking really about the things that are going on in the world. Right now, if you just look anywhere across any continent, whether it's Europe, North America, South America, Africa, Asia, right? Things are happening. We're seeing political revolutions. We're seeing economic revolutions, social revolutions. People are rising up, trying to take control of their lives. They're trying to dictate to the government what should be done and what shouldn't be done. We're seeing systems, old systems, traditional systems that have been there for centuries and decades, beginning to collapse, beginning to give way to newer modes of thinking. We're seeing models that are now becoming outdated, being replaced by newer models, newer analyses, newer concepts. Right, and I don't think it's a coincidence that these things are happening virtually at the same time, right? Because if you look at the 20th century, for instance, you see that a lot of social revolutions, economic revolutions, political revolutions also seem to occur around the same time. For instance, in the US, where we saw the civil rights movement, right? In Cuba, there was also that social uprising, political uprising. In Africa, we're seeing a lot of countries agitating for independence. So revolutions and their resultant effects are not located or they're not placed within one entity only. They have a ripple effect. So what's happening now? We're seeing a lot of changes, as I've said, in structures, in authorities, in governments, in systems. And where I think all this is heading to is that we're going to be seeing very shortly an upheaval in the way things generally operate. Now, that's not the point. The point is, where is all this going to leave us at the end of the day? Because whenever a revolution occurs, even though it occurs to bring about something new, there are always things that need to be operated, right? So things like finance is something that is permanent, right? Whether it's an old revolution, a new revolution, old structures, new structures, finance is something that you need to deal with, because it's talking about money, and money is a resource. It's used in individual life, it's used in corporate life, it's used in public life, right? So how do you engage finance? How do you ensure that it is enough for people? How do you ensure that it's enough for the things that you want to do as a business, as a family, as an organization, as a government, right? And one of the things that we need to understand about finance is the principles of how money works, because I think that it's very important for us to understand that at any level, a lot of the things that we're seeing are going wrong, on the public level, government level, or whatever it is because the resources that are on ground are not being properly allocated, right? And there's a lot of agitation, there's a lot of confusion, there's a lot of anger and disillusionment, especially when the people, right, the masses of people are not getting their due from the governments who are supposed to be taking care of them, right? That's not to say that government can do everything, but it means that government does have some responsibilities for people, right? It also behoves on the people to understand how resources work and how they can empower themselves economically, because that is really the only way you're going to get ahead. Now, the winds of change suggest that as a people, as human beings generally, as we continue to evolve, we need to understand properly how things work, right? Because too many of us, and I was this way myself, we just see things happening politically, and we're reading the news or we're hearing the news. That is even if we watch the news or hear the news, and we're hearing that this happened in England or that happened in Russia or whatever, and we're like, okay, fine, information, but we're not dealing with what that information is suggesting, right? So it's really critical for us to be more analytical in our thinking. How does this thing affect me, right? Russia and the Ukraine crisis, how does this affect me? How does it affect my economy? How does it affect my business? The things that are going on in the US, how is it going to affect my business? How is it going to affect my economy, right? Because these incidents are not isolated. I mentioned something, ripple effect. Something can happen in Europe that would have an ultimate ripple effect on you in Africa, right? So how do these things occur? So we need to be more intentional about educating ourselves, understanding the principles of things like government, things like the economy, things like money especially, because as we move forward, no matter where you are in the world, there are going to be periods of economic hardship. So how do you constantly withstand when crises come your way? You need to have that good understanding of money and the power of money and how you can use it to your advantage, and how that fits into this whole global discussion that we've been having. So the winds of change, even as we see it coming, we need to also look for how we can leverage, how we can position ourselves to take advantage of the situation, how we can position ourselves locally, how we can position ourselves globally, how we can position ourselves internationally, right? Whether you're a leader, you're a business person, whoever you are, nothing happens in the globe that doesn't have an effect in some way or manner on the rest of us. So how do we position ourselves to stay strong, to stand up tall, to continue to live lives and live life to the fullest? So food for thought, really. That's what this episode is all about. The winds of change are coming. What do you do? I'll see you next time.